Hi, we're hackaware.org, and we're not a company or anything like that. We're a community project. We started this whole thing for one simple reason: to expose the online scams we were seeing, figure out exactly how they work, and then share everything we learned to protect people just like you. This is our story, and it all kind of starts with a phrase I'm sure you've heard before.
You know the one. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. We've all heard it a million times, right? But these days, in our super digital world, it's become way more than just a saying. It's basically our first line of defense against scams that are getting scarily convincing.
So, what made us start Hackaware in the first place? Well, it all kicked off because of a problem we were seeing right here in Sri Lanka. It was like this rising wave of really sophisticated online fraud. We're seeing friends, family, people in our communities losing their life savings, and we just knew we couldn't sit back and do nothing.
One of the first big things we noticed were these Telegram top-up scams. The way they work is they hook you with these simple online tasks for what seems like easy money. But here's the catch. To get to the bigger payouts, you have to deposit your own money first. It's a classic bait and switch, and it's designed from the ground up to empty your account. Then, all of a sudden, we saw this explosion of fake remote job platforms. And these websites, they looked legit. I mean, incredibly legit, offering these perfect work-from-home jobs. But in reality, they were just traps. They were set up to get you to pay for some fake training or an activation fee, and then poof, they'd vanish, along with your cash.
And then you had the investment scams, which were honestly pretty tricky. What these scammers would do is steal the names and logos of big, trusted companies to build this entire fake platform that looked completely real. They'd promise you these amazing returns, convincing people to pour their hard-earned money into something that just didn't actually exist.
You know, once we started looking at all these different scams, we realized they were all running from the same playbook. It's surprisingly predictable. First, they pretend to be a trusted brand to get you to let your guard down. Then, they use those task-based deposit systems to get you to put your own skin in the game. The second you try to take out your so-called earnings, you're blocked, no warning. And to stay one step ahead, they're constantly hopping to new websites. This whole cycle is what makes them so dangerously effective.
Seeing that playbook in action over and over again, that's what made us start Hackaware. We just felt like we had to draw a line in the sand. This was never a business idea for us. It was a community response to a crisis that was getting bigger every day.
I mean, we were seeing people right here in our own circles losing everything they had. We just felt this responsibility to do something. For us, staying silent just wasn't an option, because really, silence is what lets these scams grow and thrive in the first place.
And this gets to the absolute core of the threat. These scammers, they aren't just hacking computers, they're hacking people. There's a name for it: social engineering. They play on our most basic emotions, trust, hope, even fear, to get us to act before we've had a chance to think it through. And that, right there, is why we named ourselves Hackaware. Our whole mission is to make everyone aware of these psychological games.
Okay, so what does being aware actually look like in practice? For us, it's not enough to just point out the problem. We're all about turning that awareness into concrete action.
Our process really has 5 main parts. First, we document the scams that are actually up and running here in Sri Lanka. Then, we track their websites and work on getting them taken down. For anyone who's already been targeted, we help guide them on how to write up a proper report for the authorities. At the same time, we're always breaking down how these scams work and pointing out the red flags. And finally, we create educational materials like this to get the word out to as many people as possible.
Now, to build trust, we think it's just as important to be really clear about what we don't do. Being transparent means setting some clear, honest boundaries about our role and what our limits are.
So, to be totally clear, we are an awareness project. We can't recover lost money. We don't contact or negotiate with scammers ever. We don't provide legal representation, and we can't guarantee what will happen with banks or the authorities. Our job is to document what's going on, guide you through the reporting process, and arm you with the right information.
And that brings us to the single most important part of this whole thing, and that's you. Because real empowerment starts with knowledge. When it comes to cybersecurity, you are always the first and, honestly, the most important line of defense.
Just think about this for a second. A whopping 90% of all cyber attacks start with human error. Not some brilliant piece of code, not some supercomputer, just a person making a mistake. And that's exactly why your awareness and your caution are so critical.
Let's just bust a couple of common myths real quick. Myth number 1. Oh, I'd definitely notice if I were hacked.
The reality? Most victims have no idea what's happened until the damage is already done. And myth number 2, hackers only go after the big companies. Nope. The truth is, most major security breaches start with an attack on just one person. That means every single one of us is a potential target.
So when you boil it all down, it comes back to this one simple, powerful idea. Yeah, technology helps, but real security, that comes from you. Awareness is, and it always will be, your single strongest protection against these kinds of threats.
And that's our core message. Understanding how these scams work isn't just some interesting trivia. It is the most powerful tool you have to protect yourself. Know the threat, and you can stop the attack.